So here we are, heading towards Wellington. Off to the starboard side you've got the South Island, off to the port, the north obviously. We're heading in towards Wellington, moving with some speed. 41 degrees, 20 minutes, 23 seconds south. About the same latitude as Burnie. And as such, there's a chill to the breeze. 05:30, waiting for the sun to come up. Quite a pleasant time of the day, just before the dawn. Lights continuing off the port bow, port stern rather. And a rather nice breeze building up. So, and a hint of light on the horizon. You can see the horizon there starting to brighten. Something about a pre-dawn moment. The stand 2 hour. Very pleasant. Brightening by the minute. Of course, coming from complete black to pre-dawn does seem much lighter than it is. Starting to make the turn towards Wellington. And that's where we are on the planet. Starting to slow down a fraction. We were doing 15 knots earlier. It's now down to 13 and a half. So not long now. Bit more sunlight now. Slowly breaking the horizon. Little settlements off to the port side, or the left as we're about to hit dirt. Nice. Some settlement there off to our left front, I guess, quarter of the way. Hopefully we've got enough cover on the microphone not to be picking up this wind, but we'll check that in post. Quite a pleasant feeling in the wind. Definite increasing of light across the horizon. Rather pleasant. Kick something in deep and ancient in the body. Start to wake up on levels that don't really feel when you wake up and it's already light. Now over on the starboard side, you can see where the sun is actually coming up. That's Cook Bay, I believe, and the gap between the two islands is called Cook Strait. So, as we'll be swinging around to port and heading north to Wellington, I suspect this is the side where we'll get the sunrise. There she goes, still slowly rolling round to the sun. Dark off to the west and south. Definitely getting brighter. Won't be long till the sun cracks the horizon. A truly wonderful time of the day that not many people see, unfortunately. If you get up early, people, see the sun come up. At least once a week. It's a treat. The land of the long white cloud. And there's one over there. Apart from the land of the long white cloud, New Zealand's also known as the Shaky Isles. So hopefully we'll avoid any earthquakes while we're here. But you just never know. That's the nature of the beasts, I guess. So I'm happy with the long white cloud. Not so sure I'll be happy with the shakes. Well, we're still on the starboard side. We'll go over and have a look on the port side, see if there's any difference over there. I do believe it might be Wellington that we're heading to, or maybe not. Find out when we get there, I guess. But yeah, there's far less sunrise on this side, so we'll go back to the starboard side. Little level of mist on the sea a little bit further out. Who knows which part of those formations we see there, the geological ones we'll be going through. But time will tell. Getting much brighter now. That pre-dawn, false dawn I think it's called sometimes, before the sun actually comes up, but the light's bending around the lens effect through the atmosphere. So, very pleasant. There's a growing sense of excitement amongst those that are awake. You can feel it building across the ship. I think those lights we saw off the port side are where we're headed for. The bright lights of the most southern capital city in the world, sunny Wellington. And before you know it, it almost feels like daylight. It's not, of course, and we are heading a bit of a turn to port as we look forward. And the vessel has slowed considerably, which is probably what you want. They go crashing into docks or berths. So I'm pretty sure these people have driven here a few times, so it's all good. Definitely a lot more of that headland now off to our starboard side as we're swinging round towards Wellington. Dash over to the other side and have a look. Yep, I was right, that is Wellington over there. You see to our front there, down in the water, I think that's the pilot boat coming out to ease us into port. Yep, it was indeed the pilot boat. It even says so on the side of the vessel. Where they'll be coming aboard, somewhere nearby. We're now easing across to starboard. Must be actually have a pilot on, I guess, before we do the run into town. Still no actual sun over the horizon. The day is certainly growing. Pilot's been dropped off, and the cutter's leaving the vessel. I guess the pilot's making his way up to the bridge. One would hope. Sort of holding water at the moment, waiting for the pilot to take charge, I guess. There's Wellington off in the distance. Pilot cutter's done a run around behind the vessel. Now appears to be travelling with us on the way in, although they're going a little bit quicker than us. Not as quickly as they came out, so. A bit bouncier out there on the smaller vessel, but I guess that's their job. We must be getting close. The wind is quite severe now. So I might wander down to the cabin and film the rest of this from the balcony down there. Down on the cabin veranda now, and you can see the pilot's cutter has taken off, moved a fair way away. You can see why we'd need a pilot. There's all kinds of hazards out there. Those people over there living on the above the cliffs and whatnot would have quite a pleasant view, I guess. Especially storms rolling in from the south. Continuing on our journey inward. I wonder why those islands aren't covered in wind farms. Probably power the whole of the country. Back up on level 9. The wind is definitely rising. You can see some rock outcrops there just off to the port. You can see why we need a pilot. Everything's getting ready though. Suspect there's some expensive housing up there on that island, I guess. We'll see when we get in closer. More small rock outcroppings. Now what appears to be some sort of lighthouse up the top, but I'm not sure what that is down the bottom. Might be another lighthouse, or marker anyway. But definitely an interesting passage through here. And still no sign of the still no sign of the sun breaking the surface. And the wind is still winding as we get into Wellington. Plane coming into Wellington Airport. Flew out of there, 2018, after my daughter's wedding. Back to more of your highly expensive housing, particularly the top of the hill, I reckon. Down the bottom would be a bit cheaper, but not a lot, I don't think. More rock outcroppings, and there's a little white marker in the ocean there. Mark the passage. And the breeze is breezing like only Wellington breezes can. Although we've had days like this in Burnie too, so it's the roaring 40s. Back on the starboard side. Not a lot going on over here. Rocks and whatnot. Appears to be some settlements over there. To our front. Which would be fair enough, I guess. Breakfast over. Back on deck. Have a closer look at sunny Wellington. Other vessels there. I guess we're heading in there. Starting to swing round towards town. She doesn't move quickly in circles, but she does quicker than I would have expected anyway. Spread across the hills is our New Zealand capital of Wellington. Getting closer by the minute. And there's that island we passed earlier. The house is up the top. I suspect we need to go over to the starboard. It does pivot on quite a central axis. It's the nature of the thrusters they have in there now. So we see Wellington swing into view. Kiwi flag at the masthead, which is a tradition at sea. You mark the country you're coming to's sovereignty by showing you know where you're going to, and that it's not an act of war or piracy, which is probably a good thing. Another pilot cutter heading out. Who knows what they're up to. Just spun it sideways, must be there at a sort of a marker point for the actual pilot to see where they are. We're now swinging back towards starboard. If you look at the shoreline there ahead of us. People coming and going. A closer view of the pilot tug, perhaps. Maybe it's a tug that's coming in to assist with the berthing. That would make sense, I guess. There's a better view. Not actually connected yet, but I guess they know what they're doing. Yep, they've just thrown a line aboard and they'll be connecting up. I reckon I've probably got time to go down and have a quick shower before we land. There you go. Sunny Wellington. Who knows which way we'll be pointing when we get in there. I suspect they're putting the starboard side next to the wharf. But the next time we're filming, we'll be getting ready to disembark. Well, we do appear to be hauling into the port side of the vessel in port, which was what one would expect. See the thrusters down there, moving us slowly. No lines attached yet to loop us on, but there's the gangplank over there. And the parallels with Burnie, just amazing. All that timber there to be chipped. It's as if we haven't left home in some ways. So there she be. So, been an accident, we can't get out to the Storm Coast, but we're going an alternative tour of Wellington to Mount Victoria of all places.
Well, you picked a nice day to come.
They're everywhere.
You should have been here on Monday. 100 mile an hour winds, heavy.
Okay, so Storm Coast trip was off, big accident, blocked the highway. Now been wandering around Wellington, going off to the Rose Garden and coffee shop. Here we are approaching the Rose Garden. There they are. Some have bloomed, some are about to. So here we go through the garden. In different sizes, growing away at their own paces, different varieties, different times. Yeah, they've had some wind, this is Wellington, and some rain earlier this week. So they're a little bit weather affected, but not too bad really. Rather pleasant. Rather pretty one, it survived the weather. A few more there, variation on the colour. And you can see they're all laid out rather nicely. Not dissimilar to the Rose of Tralee gardens in, funnily enough, Tralee in County Kerry. Some work going on there at the glass house that has us cordoned off, but otherwise just a nice little park, reasonably well protected from the wind. Savagely attractive yellow ones here. Get out of the shade, see them in the sunlight. Quite attractive. No bees on them though at the moment that I can see. I'm sure there's pollinators about. Inside the coffee shop at the Rose Garden. It's basically a glass house extension with some cover because it's summer. And it's already warm in here. But nice. A nice view out to the garden. Plenty of colour variation in these roses. Really quite pleasant. Shame about the bad weather the other night ruining the displays. But then you've got the yellow here, which is showing up nicely again. Pale pink, pale lavender perhaps. Give you some idea. Very attractive. But it's a hive of activity. The variation on the yellow sort of golden colour one, a bit like those ones we saw at the rhododendron garden. I'll put a link to that at the end of this one. These are quite intact. Very nice. Of course, it wouldn't be a rose garden without the bright red. Crimson, scarlet, I don't know. Red garden roses. Well, hey, ducks. And a peace flame there in the middle. And, I don't know, mini pagoda, I guess. There's something quite calming about having ducks about. Doing their thing. Thought the coffees were worth the wait. They were very, very good. And there you go. Colours on the guns. George III's cream. There's a muzzle loader. Ship's gun by the look of it. Especially from the mount. Up on Wellington's very own mountain beck. Panoramic view of the place. It's all cliff face and earthquake flat.